Before the first bell rings, before the scentless air stirs, before the ache in your spine has time to announce itself, there is stone unmoved, unhearing, unkind waiting for you. This is not a beginning. It is a return to something ancient. Something that does not blink when you arrive. The monastery has no welcome, no warmth. You cross the threshold, and behind you, the great wooden door shuts with a sound that doesn't echo. It simply ends. You stand there for a moment, wrapped in cloth that does not warm you, your breath visible, though the morning fire never was. Where are you listening from tonight? What time is it where you are? Let us know in the comments below. This place does not ask, but I do, because in stories like this, your presence becomes part of the silence we explore. And if these quiet journeys mean something to you, a like or a subscription helps keep the echoes going. Now return to the cold. Let your breath slow. This is not your bed, but you will lie here. This is not your voice, but it will fall silent with the others. The monastery stands in 1293, though time itself doesn't argue. Here, stone is older than words, and words are fewer than rules. You do not belong here, but neither does anyone. The cold does not pick favorites. It does not recognize you, and it does not leave you. You have not come for prayer, but prayer will come for you. You will kneel because there is nowhere else to place your knees. You will eat because hunger is louder than guilt. You will sleep, not because it is night, but because the stone has taken the rest of you already. In this place, silence is not the absence of sound, it is the only sound. It hums beneath footsteps, behind locked doors, within your breath. You will not hear your name spoken. You will not speak it yourself. And by nightfall, it may no longer feel like it belongs to you at all. The monastery will take what you brought and return nothing. Not a comfort, not a fire, not even a reason. And still, you will stay. Because here, time is a discipline, not a measure. And discipline is not something you understand, not yet. But you will. So breathe in slowly. Let the last warm thought slip from your hands. Let the hour pass over you like a bell you never asked to hear. The story begins here in stone, in stillness, in silence. The doors do not creak as they close behind you. They groan, low and ancient, as though they've done this 1,000 times before, and 1,000 times more after you. You don't look back, not because you're brave, but because the air in front of you is already so heavy, looking behind might break something inside you. The stone beneath your feet is damp, though it hasn't rained. It's just how it always is here, soaked in time, in silence, in all the things no one says aloud anymore. You are not greeted. No hand rests on your shoulder. No monk lifts his head in acknowledgement. The place does not welcome. It absorbs. You feel it already in your breath, which has become quieter without trying. In your spine, which straightens as if remembering something older than posture. In your name, which no one asks for. You wonder, perhaps too late, if you still have it. The fabric you wear, coarse, unfamiliar, clings to your arms like a question. Nothing fits. Not the robe, not the stone path ahead, not the rules you haven't even heard yet. There's no candlelight here, not this early. The only light is what leaks reluctantly through high, narrow slits in the walls, not windows, not really. Just reminders that somewhere, there's a sun. You move slowly, not because you're cautious, but because every step feels like permission you haven't earned. You pass doorways with no names, arches with no saints, shadows that stretch toward you as if curious, or maybe just bored. The silence here isn't passive, it watches. You feel it pressing against your thoughts, trying to narrow them, trying to discipline even your imagination. You want to remember who you were an hour ago, before the doors, before the robe, before the stone, but memory slips in this place, like water across worn tile. You are not here to be known. You are here to vanish politely. The first sound you hear is not a greeting, not a welcome, but a bell. One single toll, slow and low, like a breath released after too long held in. You don't know what it means. You don't ask. The gate hasn't locked, but it doesn't need to. The monastery holds you without chains. You are not a prisoner, but you also are not free. This place doesn't punish. It waits. It waits for the noise to drain from your bones. For your voice to go quiet, even in your own head. For your sense of time to turn inward like a candle folding into its own flame. You haven't been given instructions yet. But already, your steps follow an invisible pattern. Already, your shoulders lean into obedience. You walk deeper into a place where time is counted not in hours, but in rules. Where the air has weight, but no warmth. Where names are unspoken, and thoughts are a kind of indulgence. The gate does not slam shut. It just stops being part of your world. You did not hear it lock, but you no longer feel like it could open. You stand inside now, claimed by a silence that does not ask and will not return what it takes. And you know whatever you are here to find, it won't have a name and it won't speak to you. The bell rings again, not with urgency, but with inevitability. And the quiet procession begins feet against stone, robes brushing one another without apology, eyes mostly downcast, hands folded out of habit more than reverence, as if each body knows what to do even when the mind has yet to catch up. You follow because following is the only choice here, and as you enter the refectory, a word you had only read before, now coldly real the room unfolds in dull gray sameness. Long wooden benches that creak under silence more than weight. Walls that have never heard laughter and wouldn't know what to do with it if they did. And a draft that travels not like air, but like memory, brushing your neck just enough to remind you that warmth is not guaranteed here, not even in company. No one speaks, no one gestures, and when the bowl is placed before you not by a servant, but by another monk who also doesn't look at you, it's not a gift. Not sustenance, but a task, something to complete quietly and without variation. The bread is already there, dry, ancient, cracked like the walls that surround you, as though it too has been left to harden under the rules of this place. And as you reach for it, you feel guilt not because of greed, but because of memory. Because somewhere in your bones there is a vague recollection of warmth, of tables lit by candles that flickered with conversation, of bread that tore gently and steam that rose like a sigh. But here, the only rising is from within your chest. Not hope, but hesitation, because even hunger is quieter here. You chew without sound, because even your mouth seems to know it must not interrupt this place. And the crust cuts your gums slightly, not enough to bleed, but enough to remember where you are, and that eating too is a kind of discipline. The broth is lukewarm, nearly clear, tasting faintly of root or salt or time you can't tell which, and as you swallow, you realize it is not nourishment that happens here, but ritual, and ritual doesn't care if you are full, only if you are quiet. The monks around you do not rush, but they do not linger. Either there is no joy in the meal, no sharing, no thanks allowed, only the mechanical movement of hands to mouths, eyes forward, breath shallow. You finish the meal and feel not satisfied, but smaller, as though the food has removed something rather than added to you. A kind of hollowing that leaves your stomach still and your chest oddly heavy. You do not remember the taste of the bread. 5 minutes after it is gone, only the echo of its hardness in your teeth and the chill of the air that never once warmed in your lungs. When it ends, no one signals, but everyone stands, and so do you, because rhythm matters more than reason here. And as you walk away from the table, from the half-empty bowl and the crumb-dusted plank, you feel not relief, but a strange grief. For the version of yourself that thought a meal might comfort, that thought silence could mean peace, that thought food was always a kindness. Here, it is only a pause between prayers, and the space between chewing and chanting feels thinner than you imagined. You wonder, without meaning to, if anyone has ever laughed in this room, and the question makes you colder than the air ever could. You step out into the cloister not because you want to walk, not because you need fresh air, not because your legs are restless, but because the bell has rung and the schedule demands it, because here, the rhythm of your body is no longer your own. The corridor greets you with a chill that isn't sharp, only constant, and the light that leaks in through the open arches does not warm the stone, only stretches the shadows thinner than before, dragging them beside you like long, silent companions. Your sandals meet the floor with soft slaps, not quite noise, but close, and in this place, even that feels indulgent, as though your steps are speaking out of turn. The path is a perfect rectangle, 4 turns repeated endlessly, and the gravel just beyond the stone is raked flat each morning, not for beauty but for obedience. And it occurs to you that nothing here has been arranged for comfort, only for stillness. You try not to look up, because the sky is distant and soft and makes your eyes ache with thoughts you aren't allowed to have. So you watch your own feet instead, one step after another, circling something you cannot name. You pass others, robes brushing past, eyes downcast, hands tucked quietly in sleeves, not out of secrecy but submission, as if hands themselves might interrupt the silence. No one counts the laps, because the number doesn't matter, the movement is the point. The repetition is the prayer. The turning corners is what keeps the thoughts from turning back inward too sharply. You walk slowly at first, then evenly, your breath falling into the same rhythm. And before long, you're not sure how many times you've passed the same ivy curling down from the stone, or the same crack in the archway that looks like a scar. Maybe 7 times, maybe 17, but the familiarity of it does not soothe you, it erases you. Each step doesn't bring you closer to anything, but further from what was. And the strange thing is, that seems to be the goal. This isn't walking to arrive, this is walking to forget, to soften, to vanish politely into the habit of movement. Your thoughts try to bubble up, memories from a life just 2 days behind you, a voice, a scent, a name, but the stones do not invite remembering, and the cloister seems to bend those memories until they lose their edge. You think about how strange it is to walk without talking, without looking, without even the chance of interruption, and part of you wonders if this is what it would feel like to walk through a dream where everyone agreed to stay silent. And yet it is not peace that settles in you. Not quite. It is something grayer, flatter, like the dust on your sandals and the film on the sky, not heavy, but unshakable. You become part of the rhythm, not because you choose to, but because choosing isn't the point here, dissolving is. 1 foot forward, then the other, again and again, until the parts of you that once moved with curiosity now only move with instruction. You imagine what it would be like to walk this path in the rain, or in snow, or at dusk, and then catch yourself, because imagination is a kind of noise, and this place, this stone, this schedule, has no use for noise. You do not know how long you've been walking when the next bell rings, only that when you stop, it feels like forgetting how to breathe. The room does not echo, it absorbs. Thick walls, high ceilings, and a quiet too deep to break with voice. You sit where others have sat before you, your place already worn by generations of elbows leaning in obedience and minds leaning nowhere. The desk is not yours, it never was, and the tools, though arranged precisely, feel less like instruments and more like relics. Before you lies parchment, blank but heavy with expectation. The ink, dark and dense, sits in its small clay pot as if asleep, and beside it, a single feather trimmed into function, a quill, sharpened not to pierce but to follow. You dip the point, you hesitate. Not because you do not know how, but because hesitation is your only rebellion, and even that is short-lived. You lower your eyes and begin, 1 letter, then the next, and the next. Curves, spines, flourishes, each one the echo of another, each one pulled not from your mind, but from a template older than your language. The words are Latin, sacred, repeated, revered, but not understood, not fully, not by you. That is not your task. Understanding is not expected. Only accuracy, only silence. The quill scratches softly, and in this stillness, even that feels deafening. You glance to your left, then to your right. No one meets your eye. They are bowed as you are. A forest of bent backs and hooded faces, breathing in rhythm with the page. You wonder if any of them ever question the lines they write. Whether the repetition becomes belief, or whether belief becomes irrelevant. The ink glides, but your hand cramps, fingers stiff from holding the feather too tightly, and you shake your wrist subtly beneath the table. The motion brings no relief, only guilt. You dip again. The quill drinks the blackness. You press again. To the page. More words, more rules, more laws that you must transcribe but not test. The sentence you copy reads of mercy. The silence around you does not. Your thoughts begin to wander the outside world, a window, a voice. But each thought is an ink blot waiting to stain the sacred. You pull yourself back. You trace. You repeat. You mimic. 1,000 words, and not one of them your own. The scriptorium holds time like breath, slow, stretched, and never quite exhaled. A candle gutters behind you. Another goes out. The room grows dimmer, but you write on, your eyes adjusting not to light, but to lack. You wonder what would happen if you changed. A single letter, a single word. If anyone would notice. If God would. If it would matter. But you don't. You don't because the hand is no longer yours. It belongs to the monastery, to the order, to the ink. You dip again. Your fingers are stained now, black and aching. Your neck stiff. The lines on the page blur. You blink. The silence is not soft anymore. It hums. It tightens. It folds behind your eyes like a second lid, and the words you write begin to slip past your understanding like water through cracked stone. You are not thinking. You are only continuing. The room does not end. The letters do not stop. The silence deepens, and somewhere between amen and silence, you forget what your voice used to sound like. The bell rings again, not as a welcome, but as a notice. Time has passed. The morning silence gives way to the midday silence, which is only different in name. You rise not because you are hungry, but because you are told. Your feet know the path without question now, left at the cloister, down the hall with cold light, past the statue whose gaze you no longer meet. The refectory is dim, lit by narrow slits of light that carve more shadow than warmth. The benches are arranged. In lines, the bowls already placed, the bread already dry. No one speaks, no one looks up. The sound of footsteps on stone fades into the hush of cloth brushing wood. You sit. The monk to your left does not breathe any louder than the monk to your right. You unfold your hands and lay them on the table, not to reach, but to signal obedience. The portion before you is the same as yesterday, and the day before, and the imagined day after. A wedge of coarse bread, too tough for teeth that do not try. A ladle of soup that remembers warmth, the way stone remembers touch distantly, and, with no intention of return, you raise the spoon, you chew, you swallow, each motion deliberate, each one noiseless. The taste does not linger, the food does not fill. It passes through you like a memory you were not ready to recall. The bread scratches the roof of your mouth. The soup drips slowly, oil clinging to its surface like breath to cold glass. There is salt faintly, maybe celery root, or maybe just heat imagined. You do not ask. You do not question. You eat because they eat. You mirror hands you do not know, time to a rhythm you did not choose. A lector reads from the pulpit, but the words flow past you like smoke. Something about repentance, or grace, or both, in equal measure. Your ears hear, but your thoughts wander not to joy, but to contrast. The way food once steamed on a plate, the way chairs once creaked when you laughed, the way forks clinked against porcelain, but here there is no clinking. No laughter. No sound but the careful lifting of spoons and the slow setting of bowls. Someone coughs softly, and that, for a moment, is rebellion. The silence quickly folds around it again. You chew slower now, not out of reverence, but because haste feels too human. You look down. The table is rough. Splinters have been worn, smoothed by elbows that knew better than to rest. You wonder how long one must live like this before the hunger becomes invisible, before eating becomes something other than nourishment, or needs something mechanical, sacramental, empty. You finish your bread. You drink water that is neither cool nor warm. And for a moment, your reflection flickers in the cup, pale, hooded, unfamiliar. You place it down gently. The monk across from you does not blink. You wonder if he remembers taste, if he misses color, if he dreams of fruit, but you say nothing, you think nothing. The bell rings again. The bowls are lifted. The spoons disappear. The benches creak only once as you rise. And like that you return to the silence that never left. Your hunger, strangely, does not follow. The sky does not change, not in the way you're used to. Clouds drift above the stone walls, too distant to be noticed by those whose eyes stay lowered. The bell had rung earlier, but its echo was thin, already faded by the time your knees found. The path to the garden. It is not a garden in the way you remember gardens. There are no roses, no blooming colors, no buzzing of bees or joy tucked among the leaves. Here, the soil is dark but not soft. It yields only slowly, only after effort. You are handed a tool, wooden-handled, iron-headed, worn smooth by generations of hands that did not resist. No one tells you where to begin, because that too is part of the order. You dig where there is space, and where there is space, there's always earth that refuses to forget. You kneel. The ground is cold, not frost, but something older. Something that remembers other knees, other hands, other silent men who once tilled this exact row, with hearts full of sin they could never name aloud. Your fingers close around. The handle, you push. The metal teeth sink into the soil with a sound quieter than a breath. You lift. You repeat. The rhythm builds not like music, but like confession, slow, repetitive, and entirely without reply. The dirt clings to your palms. Beneath it, roots twist like veins. They come free reluctantly, as if asking to stay. Each weed you pull is a name you forgot to forget. Each clod of earth is a memory you would rather not have returned. The sun offers no warmth. It merely observes. Overhead, a crow passes, silent as the vow you haven't yet taken, but already feel etched across your back. Around you, others work, but they are not companions. They are mirrors. They move in the same posture. They sweat at the same pace, and yet you cannot tell if they feel what you feel, because you are not sure you are feeling it either. Your back begins to ache, but you don't stop. Stopping is a choice. And here, choices are scarce. The garden asks nothing but effort, not why you're here, not what you seek, not who you used to be. You pull another weed. Its roots are deep. Your arm strains. You win, but the soil sighs in disappointment. You press the weed into the basket without pride. The monk beside you wipes his brow without expression. Somewhere behind the wall, a bird chirps. You think it might be a sparrow. It doesn't sing. Again, you switch rows. The new patch is harder. The ground here has been dry longer. The weeds more stubborn, the stones more cruel, but your hands no longer flinch. They have become tools, like the spade, like the rake, like the bell. You have not spoken since dawn, and you no longer miss the sound. You breathe in dust. You exhale quiet. You begin to forget that this task ever began, or that it will ever end. The weight on your shoulders is not just labor. It is every apology, never given, every moment of comfort you did not deserve. And here, among the rows, there is no priest to hear it. Only the earth. And the earth does not forgive. It accepts. It keeps. And it waits. You walk without being told to. There is no announcement. No bell. No schedule pinned to the wall. And yet, your feet move as if they have always known the way, worn by centuries of footsteps too obedient to question where they were being led. You follow a narrow corridor, lined with stone so old it has forgotten color. The air grows heavier with each step, not darker, but denser like breath thickened by memory. You reach the threshold. It's not a door, just a gap in the stone, curtained in linen. You lift the cloth with fingers that no longer expect warmth and enter the small chamber beyond. The light is dim. One candle flickers near the wall. Not enough to see the priest clearly, only enough to confirm he's there still as furniture, more silhouette than figure. You do not greet him. There's no greeting in this place. You kneel. The floor is uneven, cold. It presses into your bones, like a reminder that even stillness can bruise. You clasp your hands, not from faith, from custom, from uncertainty, from the need to do something with fingers that have grown unfamiliar. The priest does not speak. He does not look up. You don't know if his eyes are closed or simply withdrawn. You are unsure whether he's listening or merely enduring. You open your mouth, and nothing happens. You expected this. The words, they were there, walking beside you, pacing your heartbeat, building like a quiet pressure behind your ribs. But now they vanish, not like birds fleeing, more like breath forgotten. You inhale to begin. You pause. You wait. You try. Again, nothing. Your silence joins the room like a second occupant. It sits between you and the priest, uninvited but immovable. You think of the sins you were meant to confess, the pride you carried in the world outside, the way you once envied, once lied, once loved without permission. You want to say these things, you want them gone, but the longer you kneel, the less sure you are that they matter. The candle flickers. You hear it more than you see it. The wax drips. The wick sighs. Still, he does not speak. His breath is steady, as if he's been asleep for years, or as if this waiting, this weathering is all he was trained to do. You wonder if he has sins too, if he kneels like this when no one watches, whispering regrets into the same silence you now face. Or maybe he stopped believing in confession long before you ever arrived. The floor groans beneath your knees. You uncurl one hand, press it against your thigh to feel something living. Your heartbeat is slow, your mouth is dry, and still the silence waits. You finally whisper. Not a word is shape of one. It fails. It does not cross the space. You wonder if forgiveness only works when it is heard, or if this silence is the only answer the monastery ever gives. You exhale, longer than you meant to, and in that breath is everything you didn't say. You rise, not because you're done, because the room has decided you are. The priest remains still. You bow. It is shallow. It is not reverence, it is apology. Not to him, to the voice inside you that did not speak. You step out of the chamber. The air outside feels no different. No holier, just colder. The chapel does not summon you. It pulls you in like gravity, slow and quiet and sure. You do not enter with intent. You drift, carried by the steps of others, their robes brushing the air like low-hanging clouds of wool and shadow. The space is round, or it feels that way, curved by time, smoothed by repetition. Candles flicker in iron sconces along the walls, too distant to offer warmth, but enough to reflect faint halos in the polished stone. The benches creak under weight older than yours, and when you sit, you don't know if the ache in your back is from the labor earlier, or from the way this place seems to pull at your spine, demanding uprightness, discipline, surrender. The monks are already in place. No eye contact, no words. Just breath and posture and the sacred order of stillness. The bell doesn't ring. It's not needed. The first syllable arrives like mist, half-formed, half-heard, older than language. You open your mouth when they do. You match their rhythm, not because you know the song, but because you fear silence might expose you. The psalms rise like fog from the floor, Latin phrases carved into the air. You do not understand them, not truly. You know the shapes, not the soul. The words float up into the vaulted ceiling and vanish, like prayers not meant for ears, but for the stones themselves. The chant is slow, wave-like, a tide coming in and out of your body. It's not music, it's not beauty, it's not even sorrow. It is repetition for its own sake, a melody so circular it forgets where it began. You follow it. Your voice joins theirs, light and obedient, but it is a shell. Your throat vibrates, your lips move, and nothing inside stirs. Your soul is not here. It has curled into itself, far from the chill, far from the echo, somewhere beneath the blankets of your former life. You remember fire. You remember laughter. You remember the careless way you once sang to no one at all. That voice, that warmth is gone now. You do not miss it. You do not have the energy to miss anything. The chant drones on. The monks do. Not sway, they do not cry. They do not seem to feel what they speak. You wonder if this is what holiness becomes when it's forced through too many mouths. Worn, flattened, hollow. You glance at one of them, not with disrespect but in hope. He chants, eyes closed, head forward, face like stone carved by centuries. Of obedience, you turn away. You mouth the next line. It tastes like dust. The candles flicker again. Not from wind, but from breath. The soft collective exhale of men who have not spoken in days, yet still make sound. You are one of them now, at least in posture, but not in spirit. Not yet. The chant ends where it began. Nowhere. It does not. Resolve. It does not rise. It simply stops. As if the silence behind it swallowed its tail. The monks stand. You follow. You exit. Not changed, just emptied. As if the psalms have taken something from you, not given. Outside the chapel, the air feels heavier, not colder, just quieter. Your lips still tingle from forming words you didn't feel. You do not know what they meant. You do not know if they meant anything, but you spoke them. And somehow, the silence you carry has grown larger, not smaller. You step back into the cell, and for a moment, it feels like nothing has changed. The door still groans when it closes behind you. The air remains cold enough to settle into your skin like damp wool, and the stone bed still lies untouched, indifferent, as if it never noticed you left. But something is different. Not outside, but within. You stand still in the center of the room, hands hanging like forgotten tools at your sides. Your eyes drifting toward the same corner where a spider has spun and respun a web no one bothers to disturb. It sways slightly, though there's no breeze. You don't remove your robe, because there's nothing beneath it to change into. No soft night clothes. No warmth waiting in folded cloth. You sit on the edge of the stone slab, careful not to let your bones hit too hard. Though the pain would at least feel familiar, a proof of presence in a space that makes you doubt your shape. The candle stub you left unlit has melted into itself. A crooked wax ruin. There's no light tonight. You do not need one. You know the cell now, not just its shape, but its silence. It no longer resists you. It receives you. As if your body has aligned to its rhythm, your breath slowed to match the heartbeat of stone. You lie down, the straw stuffing beneath you, rustling like dry leaves. The first sound you've made in minutes, and still it feels like a trespass. You stare upward, though nothing waits on the ceiling. You remember a time when ceilings had patterns. When you used to stare at cracks in paint, chasing constellations of memory while drifting to sleep. Here, there's only one pattern: stillness, one texture: cold. You pull your robe tighter, not for warmth, but for something like dignity. The kind you've forgotten how to describe. The kind that feels lost somewhere between kneeling in chapel and biting into hard bread. You shift your weight, trying to ease the ache in your back, but the bed does not allow comfort. You are not here to rest. You are here to continue. The walls do not echo. Even your sighs are swallowed. You close your eyes and find that even. Dreams feel hesitant in this place. You reach for memory instead. You try to recall your mother's voice, the smell of summer grass, the way light used to fall through your childhood window. But those thoughts scatter, too warm, too loud, too far. You return to the present, and the present is stone. A single tear slides from your eye, not from pain, not from sadness, but from some small part of you that remembers softness and mourns its absence. You don't wipe it away. It cools against your cheek and joins the rest of the silence. You wonder if the monks feel this too, or if the silence has long since replaced their memories. You wonder if this cell has ever held someone who left more whole than when they arrived. You wonder if leaving is still possible. But no one answers. And soon, even the wondering feels like noise. You become still. Not calm, just still. The candle stub will not burn, the walls will not speak. And sleep, if it comes, will not feel like mercy. Only pause. Only the turning of another page in a chapter you did not write. A page that ends with your body folded beneath a wool robe. Your thoughts empty, and the faint echo of a day that asked nothing but took everything. You are back in the cell. But you did not return. You were never really allowed to leave. The sun has set, and the stone has not grown warmer, but the rules have softened slightly. Not broken, not bent, but loosened just enough to suggest that the day has finally ended. You stand at the edge of your cell, unsure whether to bow or simply breathe. No one gives a signal. There is no final prayer to close this chapter. Just the quiet shuffle of sandals in corridors you never explored, and the echo of bells that do not ring for you. A monk passes or perhaps lingers outside your door. You do not see him. You only feel the movement, the absence of stillness. Your body aches in ways you cannot name. Your mind tries to stretch, but it has not fully returned from wherever it was kept. The robe on your shoulders feels both too heavy and too thin. You walk toward the outer hall, slowly. Your feet remember the rhythm of the cloister. Your eyes instinctively lower, though no one watches now. The monastery does not say goodbye. It simply stops holding you. That is its farewell. The great wooden gate, which once closed like a tomb behind you, now stands slightly open, a crack wide enough for the night air to breathe through. And yet, your own lungs hesitate. You step forward, but pause in the archway. Your hands hang useless at your sides. There is nothing to carry, nothing to bring, except the silence. It clings to you. Inside your sleeves, behind your eyes, in the hollow of your chest where songs once lived. You pass beneath the threshold. You do not look back. Not because of strength, but because you already know what you'll see: stone, stillness, and the version of yourself that did not fully leave. The sky outside is the same as you remember it, but it feels less generous. The wind does not greet you. The stars seem hesitant. You walk down the hill that leads from the monastery, step by cautious step, unsure if you are allowed to move freely again. You try to hum a tune, a child's melody, or perhaps a folk song you once knew, but it dies on your lips. Sound feels like a betrayal. Even the crunch of gravel beneath your feet feels too loud, too much. You look to the horizon, but do not feel wonder, only distance. The silence follows. It no longer surrounds you, it has become part of you. You feel it in your jaw, where tension holds unanswered questions. You feel it in your shoulders, where prayer once tried to live. You feel it in your spine, which no longer curves as easily as it did yesterday. The weight of silence is not measured in volume, but in presence. It lingers in the way you forget how to greet someone, or how to ask what time it is, or whether the bread at home is still fresh. You have left the monastery, but the day has not left you. It has printed itself into your movements, your gestures, your silences. You know now that peace is not always comfort, that stillness is not always ease, and that discipline, when practiced, without voice, does not let you go. It becomes your second skin. The sun may rise tomorrow. You may laugh again, but somewhere in that laugh will live a crack, a pause, a moment of reverent hush that no one else understands. Because the monastery is behind you and also within you. It changed nothing around you, but it changed the way you carry what you cannot name, and that will never fully leave.